Imagine walking into your office on an ordinary Monday morning. You grab a cup of coffee, turn on your computer, and wait for your emails to load. Instead, the screen suddenly turns black. A single message appears. Your files have been encrypted. Pay $500,000 in Bitcoin within 72 hours or everything will be permanently deleted. At first, you think it's a prank. You restart your computer. The same message appears. You try accessing your company's shared folders. Nothing works. Within minutes, your colleagues begin calling. Every computer in the building has been locked. Production has stopped. Customers can't place orders. The company's website is offline. Millions of dollars are disappearing every hour. Now imagine this isn't happening to one company. Imagine it's happening to hospitals, airports, banks, power stations, government agencies, entire countries. This isn't science fiction. It's the world we live in today. Every single day, thousands of cyber attacks are launched across the globe. Some are stopped before they can cause damage. Others succeed, quietly stealing billions of dollars, exposing sensitive information, or disrupting critical infrastructure. Most people never hear about them because many attacks are resolved behind the scenes, or never discovered at all. What's truly remarkable is that cybercrime has become one of the fastest-growing criminal industries in history. It has evolved from a niche hobby practiced by curious computer enthusiasts into a global underground economy worth hundreds of billions of dollars every year. Organized criminal groups operate like multinational corporations, governments maintain elite cyber units, and independent hackers can launch attacks from almost anywhere in the world with little more than a laptop and an internet connection. Today's story is not just about computers. It's about people. It's about ambition, curiosity, greed, politics, power, and a race for digital dominance that is reshaping our future. Welcome back to Knowledge Power. On this channel, we explore the world's most influential books and transform them into practical lessons that anyone can understand. Whether you're passionate about technology, business, personal development, or history, our goal is simple: help you learn faster by bringing great ideas to life. Today's book takes us into one of the most mysterious worlds on Earth, the hidden world of cybercrime. We'll discover how hackers evolved from harmless technology enthusiasts into powerful criminal organizations. We'll learn how ransomware became one of the most profitable crimes ever invented. We'll uncover the hidden economy of the dark web. We'll explore the rise of cyber warfare between nations. And most importantly, we'll learn what every ordinary internet user can do to stay safe in a world where digital threats continue to grow. Because whether you realize it or not, you're already part of this story. Every password you create, every email you receive, every app you install, every online purchase you make, every photo you upload, all of it exists inside an enormous digital ecosystem where criminals are constantly searching for opportunities. The internet has given humanity incredible power. But every powerful invention comes with unintended consequences. Just as the invention of automobiles created traffic accidents, and airplanes introduced air piracy, the internet created an entirely new kind of crime. One without physical borders. One where identities can be hidden. One where a teenager can challenge a multinational corporation. And where a single line of malicious code can sometimes do more damage than an army. So let's begin our journey. Not with criminals. Not with governments. But with a small group of curious people who simply loved understanding how computers worked. Because that's where this remarkable story truly begins. Today, if someone calls another person a hacker, most people immediately think of criminals. Dark rooms. Green text scrolling across black computer screens. Faces hidden behind hoodies. Banks being robbed. Government secrets being stolen. Hollywood has spent decades building this image. But surprisingly, that wasn't the original meaning of the word at all. In the earliest days of computing, being called a hacker was actually a badge of honor. A hacker wasn't someone who stole information. A hacker was someone who loved solving impossible problems. These were people driven by curiosity rather than money. They wanted to understand how computers worked. Not because they intended to break them, but because they wanted to improve them. During the 1970s and 1980s, computers were rare. The internet, as we know it today, didn't even exist. Only universities, research laboratories, government organizations, and a handful of technology enthusiasts had access to interconnected computer networks. These early pioneers spent countless hours experimenting with software, building programs, and exchanging ideas through primitive online bulletin board systems. They believed that information should be shared, technology should be explored, and innovation should never be limited by unnecessary restrictions. This culture created extraordinary breakthroughs. Many of the technologies we rely on today were built by people who simply enjoyed taking machines apart, understanding them, and putting them back together in better ways. Curiosity became innovation. Innovation became progress. But curiosity has another side. The same skills needed to improve computer systems can also expose their weaknesses. Every lock has someone trying to design it. And eventually, someone trying to pick it. The internet was growing faster than anyone imagined. With every new connection came another opportunity. Every new website introduced another possible vulnerability. Every new technology created another challenge waiting to be solved. Some people chose to strengthen these systems. Others realized they could exploit them. And from that moment onward, the digital world would never be quite the same. Before we understand how cybercrime became one of the biggest industries in the world, we first need to understand something surprising. The internet was never built to be secure. That may sound impossible today. After all, we trust the internet with our money, our businesses, our medical records, and even our identities. But when the first internet networks were created decades ago, security wasn't the priority. Communication was. Researchers simply wanted computers in different locations to exchange information quickly and reliably. Nobody imagined that billions of people would eventually connect to the same network. Nobody imagined online shopping, internet banking, cloud storage, social media, cryptocurrency, or artificial intelligence. Back then, the internet was a small community built on trust. Most users knew each other. Most organizations were universities or government laboratories. If someone logged into a computer, they were generally assumed to have good intentions. Unfortunately, technology evolves much faster than human behavior. As the internet expanded beyond universities and entered homes around the world, something changed. Businesses discovered enormous opportunities. Banks moved online. Retailers created digital stores. Governments digitized public services. Companies stored confidential information electronically. And suddenly, the internet wasn't just carrying information anymore. It was carrying money, power, influence, and secrets. Wherever valuable assets exist, criminals eventually arrive. History has proven this over and over again. When people began trading gold, thieves appeared. When banks were built, bank robbers emerged. When cars became popular, organized vehicle theft followed. The internet was no different. The only difference was scale. A traditional bank robber might steal hundreds of thousands of dollars in one robbery. A skilled cybercriminal could potentially steal millions without ever crossing a border. No getaway car. No fingerprints. No security cameras. Only code. That simple realization changed everything. Criminals have always adapted to new opportunities. The internet simply gave them the largest opportunity in history. Instead of breaking into buildings, they broke into servers. Instead of stealing wallets, they stole databases. Instead of forging signatures, they stole identities. Instead of threatening people face-to-face, they encrypted computers and demanded digital ransom. Every technological innovation created a new opportunity. Email became phishing. Online banking became banking malware. Cloud storage became ransomware targets. Smartphones became tools for identity theft. Social media became platforms for scams. Artificial intelligence is now being used to generate convincing fake voices and videos. The battlefield constantly changes, but the objective remains the same. Find something valuable. Exploit a weakness. Profit. This is one of the central ideas discussed throughout the book. Cybercrime isn't simply about computers. It's about economics. Hackers follow money. And wherever money flows, innovation follows, even in the criminal world. According to the author, modern cybercrime didn't emerge because of a single invention. It emerged because three very different worlds collided. Each had its own motivations. Each developed its own skills. Eventually, those skills began influencing one another. The first group was organized crime. The second consisted of political activists known as hacktivists. The third involved governments building cyber warfare capabilities. Together, these three forces reshaped the internet forever. Let's begin with organized crime. For centuries, organized crime relied on traditional illegal businesses. Smuggling, fraud, extortion, counterfeit products, money laundering. These operations generated huge profits, but they also carried enormous risks. Criminals had to transport physical goods, meet accomplices, store illegal merchandise, cross borders. Every step increased the chance of being arrested. Then came the internet. Suddenly, crime became scalable. Imagine you're running a criminal organization. Would you rather rob one jewelry store or infect 50,000 computers automatically while sitting comfortably in another country? The answer became obvious. Computers dramatically reduced risk while increasing profits. Instead of recruiting armed robbers, criminal organizations started recruiting programmers, software engineers, network specialists, encryption experts. They began operating almost exactly like technology companies. Some groups even had employee training, technical support teams, sales departments, performance bonuses, vacation schedules. If one criminal wrote successful malware, another group could purchase it. If someone discovered a new vulnerability, it could be sold on underground marketplaces. An entire underground economy emerged. Cybercrime had transformed into an international business, and business was booming. While criminals focused on money, another movement was growing for completely different reasons. Hacktivists weren't primarily interested in profit. Many believed they were fighting injustice. Some exposed government secrets. Others protested censorship. Some wanted to embarrass large corporations. Groups like Anonymous became internationally famous because of their bold public attacks. Unlike traditional criminals, they often wanted attention. Their goal wasn't necessarily financial gain. It was influence, publicity, political pressure, sometimes revenge. They proved something incredibly important. A small group of highly skilled individuals could challenge governments, multinational corporations, and powerful institutions. The world watched. Unfortunately, professional criminals watched too. They realized these techniques could generate enormous profits. Why simply embarrass a company when you could demand millions of dollars to stop attacking it? Hacktivism unintentionally became a training ground for future cybercriminals. The methods changed. The motivation changed. But the technology remained the same. The third force was perhaps the most powerful of all. Governments. Military leaders around the world reached an unsettling conclusion. Future wars would not only be fought with soldiers, they would also be fought with software. Imagine disabling an enemy's power grid without firing a single missile. Imagine disrupting military communications remotely. Imagine stealing classified research without sending a spy. The possibilities were extraordinary. Countries began investing billions of dollars into cybersecurity research. Elite cyber units were established. Some focused on defense, Others focused on intelligence gathering. And some quietly developed offensive cyber capabilities capable of attacking critical infrastructure. This changed hacking forever. For the first time, some of the world's brightest computer scientists weren't working for technology companies. They were working for governments. The internet had become a new battlefield. One where invisible attacks could have real-world consequences. Here's where the story becomes fascinating. Each of these three groups began learning from one another. Criminals copied techniques developed by governments. Governments studied methods used by criminals. Hacktivists borrowed tools from both. Innovation accelerated. Every successful attack inspired stronger defenses. Every new defense inspired more sophisticated attacks. The result was an endless technological arms race. Today, that race continues every single day. Somewhere in the world, security researchers are discovering vulnerabilities. Somewhere else, criminals are trying to exploit them before they're fixed. Companies patch software. Hackers search for new weaknesses. Artificial intelligence creates better defenses. Artificial intelligence creates better attacks. It's a cycle with no finish line. And everyone connected to the internet is part of it, whether they realize it or not. Every great industry has an origin story. Silicon Valley grew because brilliant engineers gathered in one place. Hollywood became the home of filmmaking because talent, investment, and opportunity came together. Surprisingly, modern cybercrime also has an origin story. And much of that story begins thousands of miles away, in the former Soviet Union. To understand why, we need to travel back to the early 1990s. The Soviet Union had just collapsed. For millions of people, life changed almost overnight. Factories closed. Government funding disappeared. Entire industries struggled to survive. Inflation skyrocketed. Families who had spent decades building stable careers suddenly found themselves unemployed. But amid this economic crisis was another unexpected reality. The Soviet education system had produced some of the world's brightest mathematicians, programmers, and engineers. For decades, the government invested heavily in science and technology. Students were trained to solve incredibly difficult mathematical and engineering problems. Universities produced graduates with exceptional technical skills. Unfortunately, when the Soviet Union collapsed, there simply weren't enough jobs for these highly educated professionals. Imagine spending years mastering advanced computer science, only to graduate into an economy where no technology companies were hiring. Some engineers moved abroad. Some became researchers. Others started legitimate businesses. But a small percentage made a different decision. They realized their technical knowledge could be worth far more in the underground economy than in the legal one. That decision would change cybersecurity forever. History teaches us something important. When intelligence meets opportunity, innovation happens. But when intelligence meets desperation, the outcome can be very different. Thousands of skilled programmers began exploring the internet. Unlike today, there were very few cybersecurity laws. Law enforcement barely understood online crime. International cooperation between governments was limited. The internet itself was still young. For ambitious programmers, it looked like a frontier with almost no rules. Many started with relatively simple crimes. They stole credit card numbers, created fake online stores, built software capable of collecting passwords, sold stolen information on underground forums. Initially, these operations were small. But as profits increased, they became more organized. Instead of individuals working alone, groups formed. Each member specialized in one task. One person developed malware. Another stole financial information. Someone else handled cryptocurrency. Another managed money laundering. Another recruited new members. The structure looked surprisingly familiar. It resembled a legitimate business. The only difference was that everything they sold had been stolen. According to the book, this period marked the beginning of organized cybercrime as we know it today. What started as isolated individuals gradually evolved into sophisticated criminal networks capable of operating across international borders. Imagine walking into a shopping mall. Instead of clothing stores, you find websites selling stolen passwords. Instead of electronics, merchants advertise hacked bank accounts. Instead of customer reviews, buyers rate malware developers. As unbelievable as this sounds, that's exactly what happened. Underground online forums became digital marketplaces where criminals could buy and sell almost anything related to cybercrime. Need stolen credit card numbers? Someone sold them. Need ransomware software? There was a developer waiting. Need fake passports? Someone specialized in that. Need money laundering services? Entire networks offered them. Cybercrime became modular. A criminal no longer needed to know everything. He only needed to know where to buy the missing pieces. This dramatically lowered the barrier to entry. Someone with very little technical knowledge could now launch sophisticated attacks simply by purchasing ready-made tools. It's similar to opening an online business today. You don't need to build your own payment system. You don't manufacture your own computers. You simply purchase the services you need. Criminals adopted exactly the same business model. Only their customers were other criminals. Here's something fascinating. Criminals don't trust each other. After all, if someone is willing to steal from strangers, why wouldn't they steal from fellow criminals? This created a serious problem. How could underground businesses operate if everyone expected to be cheated? The solution was surprisingly sophisticated. They created reputation systems. Members received ratings. Successful malware developers earned positive reviews. Reliable sellers attracted repeat customers. Escrow services were introduced. Some forums even had moderators who resolved disputes between criminals. Think about how strange that is. Illegal businesses developed their own customer service departments, their own quality control, their own marketplaces, their own professional standards. Cybercrime wasn't chaotic anymore. It had become organized, predictable, profitable. As profits grew, criminal organizations started thinking differently. Instead of asking, "How can we steal money today?" they asked, "How can we build systems that generate money automatically?" That question transformed everything. Automation became the new goal. Instead of targeting one victim at a time, they wanted malware capable of infecting thousands. Instead of stealing one password, they wanted millions. Instead of robbing one account, they wanted software capable of emptying thousands of accounts simultaneously. This required innovation. And innovation attracted talented programmers. Some malware developers became celebrities within underground communities. Their software was famous. Their names became respected. Ironically, some of these programmers possessed technical skills comparable to engineers working at the world's largest technology companies. The difference wasn't intelligence. It was choice. Traditional criminals often relied on violence. Cybercriminals relied on mathematics, programming, encryption, psychology, patience. A hacker didn't need muscles. He needed logic. He didn't need weapons. He needed algorithms. He didn't need a getaway driver. He needed anonymous internet access. The battlefield had changed completely. Banks were still being robbed. Only now, the robbers never entered the building. Then came one of the most important turning points in cybercrime history. A programmer named Yevgeny Bogachev developed a new type of malicious software. Its name was Zeus. At first glance, it didn't seem revolutionary. There had already been viruses before Zeus. But this one was different. Instead of attacking banks directly, it attacked the customers. That single design choice made it devastating. Think about a bank's security. Banks spend millions protecting their servers. Multiple firewalls, advanced monitoring, highly trained security teams. Breaking into a modern bank is incredibly difficult. Bogachev realized something simple. Why attack the strongest target when you can attack the weakest one? The customers. Millions of ordinary people logged into online banking every day. Their personal computers rarely had enterprise-level security. Many reused passwords, ignored software updates, downloaded unknown files, clicked suspicious email links. They became the perfect target. Zeus quietly infected personal computers. When victims visited their online banking website, everything appeared completely normal. The page looked authentic. The login process seemed identical. Nothing seemed suspicious. But behind the scenes, the malware intercepted usernames, passwords, and authentication details. Sometimes it even modified banking transactions in real time. Victims believed they were transferring money to legitimate recipients. Instead, the money was secretly redirected to criminal accounts. By the time customers realized something was wrong, the funds had already disappeared through a complex international network of accounts and intermediaries. The story of Zeus teaches one of the most important lessons in cybersecurity. Hackers rarely attack the strongest defenses. They attack the easiest target. That's why cybersecurity experts often say, you don't have to outrun the bear. You only have to outrun the slowest person. Cybercriminals think exactly the same way. They don't need to hack everyone. They only need to find the people who forgot to update their software, reused an old password, or clicked the wrong email. And because there are billions of internet users, there will always be someone who makes that mistake. Imagine waking up tomorrow morning. You press the power button on your laptop. Everything seems normal. Your operating system loads. Your desktop appears. Then suddenly, every document disappears. Your family photos, your work presentations, your university assignments, your business records, years of memories, years of hard work, gone. A message slowly appears on the screen. Your files have been encrypted. Pay $800 in Bitcoin within 72 hours or your data will be permanently destroyed. You panic. You restart the computer. Nothing changes. You call a friend. They can't help. You contact a technician. The technician looks at the screen, then quietly says something you never wanted to hear. I'm sorry. Without the encryption key, these files may never come back. This is ransomware. And over the last decade, it has become one of the most profitable cybercrimes in history. Before ransomware existed, stealing money online wasn't as easy as many people imagine. Let's say a hacker successfully stole $2 million from hundreds of online bank accounts. Great. Now what? The money couldn't simply be transferred into the hacker's personal account. Banks monitor suspicious transactions. Governments investigate financial crimes. Large transfers attract attention. The criminals still needed another network of people to help them hide the money. These people became known as money mules. A money mule would receive stolen funds into their own bank account, then withdraw the money, transfer it elsewhere, or convert it into another form. Usually, the mule kept a small percentage. The rest continued moving through dozens of accounts until investigators lost the trail. But there was a problem. Every additional person increased the risk. Someone could make a mistake. Someone could cooperate with police. Someone could simply steal the money for themselves. The more people involved, the more dangerous the operation became. Criminals wanted something better. Something automatic. Something that eliminated middlemen completely. And then, they found it. Think about every criminal business in history. A thief steals property. A smuggler transports illegal goods. A fraudster tricks victims into sending money. Each crime requires effort. But ransomware changed the game completely. Instead of stealing your money directly, the criminals simply prevented you from accessing something you already owned. Your own files became the hostage. Imagine someone locking you out of your own house, then charging you to get back inside. That's essentially what ransomware does. It doesn't usually destroy your information. It encrypts it. The files are still there. You just can't read them. Only the attacker possesses the unique digital key needed to unlock everything again. This transformed cybercrime forever. Instead of stealing from victims, criminals forced victims to pay voluntarily. Or at least, as voluntarily as someone can pay while under digital blackmail. One of the reasons ransomware spread so quickly is because it attacked something incredibly valuable: time. Imagine a hospital. Doctors cannot access patient records. Surgeries must be postponed. Emergency rooms slow down. Lives may be at risk. Every hour matters. Now imagine a manufacturing company. Every production line stops. Workers cannot continue. Orders are delayed. Customers become angry. Every minute costs thousands of dollars. Or imagine a law firm. Years of confidential legal documents suddenly become inaccessible. Court deadlines approach. Clients expect answers. The pressure becomes overwhelming. In situations like these, paying the ransom sometimes appears cheaper than waiting. Criminals understood human psychology remarkably well. They weren't just attacking computers. They were attacking urgency, fear, panic, business continuity. That is why ransomware became such a devastating weapon. According to cybersecurity researchers, some ransomware campaigns generated hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue, making digital extortion one of the most lucrative forms of cybercrime. Now you might wonder, if victims paid, couldn't police simply follow the money? Years ago, that would have been much easier. Traditional banking leaves records. Transfers pass through regulated financial institutions. Governments can request information. Banks cooperate with investigators. But then came cryptocurrency. Bitcoin wasn't created for criminals. It was designed as a decentralized digital currency. Many legitimate businesses and investors use it every day. However, cybercriminals quickly realized it solved one of their biggest problems: international payments. Imagine trying to collect ransom money from victims in 50 different countries. Traditional banking would be slow, complicated, highly monitored. Bitcoin allowed criminals to receive payments from almost anywhere in the world within minutes. No international banking delays. No currency exchange complications. No need for physical cash. It wasn't completely anonymous, but it was anonymous enough to become the preferred payment method for ransomware groups. Without cryptocurrency, modern ransomware probably would never have reached the scale we see today. Something fascinating happened as ransomware became more profitable. Criminal organizations stopped behaving like gangs. They started behaving like software companies. New versions of ransomware were released regularly. Bugs were fixed. Encryption became stronger. Victim payment websites became easier to use. Some groups even provided customer support. Yes, customer support. Imagine that. A victim pays the ransom, then receives detailed instructions explaining how to recover their files. Some criminal groups understood that maintaining a good reputation actually increased future payments. If victims believed they would genuinely receive the decryption key after paying, more victims would choose to pay. In the twisted economics of cybercrime, trust became valuable. As the industry matured, a new business model emerged. It became known as ransomware as a service, often abbreviated as RaaS. Think of it like software subscriptions. Instead of creating malware themselves, aspiring criminals could rent professional ransomware from experienced developers. The developers built the software. Another criminal distributed it. If victims paid, the profits were shared. Sound familiar? It's remarkably similar to how legitimate software companies license products or share subscription revenue. Cybercrime had evolved into a mature economy. One person specialized in programming. Another specialized in marketing phishing campaigns. Another handled cryptocurrency. Another negotiated with victims. Everyone received a percentage. The internet had unintentionally created an entirely new criminal marketplace. Here's an important lesson from this chapter. People often believe ransomware succeeds because computers are insecure. That's only part of the story. Most successful ransomware attacks don't begin with advanced hacking. They begin with ordinary human mistakes. Someone opens an email attachment. Someone clicks a fake invoice. Someone downloads pirated software. Someone ignores software updates. Someone reuses an old password. Cybersecurity experts have repeated the same message for years. People are usually the first point of entry. Hackers know this. That's why they spend as much time studying human behavior as they do studying technology. Because convincing one person to click the wrong link is often much easier than breaking through millions of dollars worth of corporate security systems. By the late 2010s, ransomware was no longer targeting only individuals. The targets became much larger. Global corporations, oil pipelines, hospitals, government agencies, universities, police departments, entire cities. The attacks became more organized. The ransom demands became larger. Millions of dollars became common. Some criminal groups even threatened to publish confidential company data if victims refused to pay. Encryption was no longer enough. Now came extortion. Then public humiliation. Then financial pressure. Cybercrime was evolving faster than ever. And unfortunately, the most dangerous innovations were still ahead. Before we continue, let's summarize the most important lessons. Cybercriminals shifted from stealing money directly to holding valuable data hostage. Cryptocurrency made international ransom payments far easier. Ransomware evolved into a professional business with developers, affiliates, and even customer support. Human psychology, not just technical vulnerabilities, became one of the biggest attack surfaces. Modern ransomware groups now target organizations where downtime is more costly than the ransom itself. Imagine you're the chief information security officer of a multinational company. Your organization has invested millions of dollars in cybersecurity. The latest firewalls protect your network. Artificial intelligence monitors suspicious activity around the clock. Every employee's laptop is encrypted. The company uses multi-factor authentication. Security cameras protect every server room. Your cybersecurity team consists of some of the brightest professionals in the industry. Everything looks secure. Then, one Tuesday morning, a junior employee receives an email. The subject line reads, "Urgent, updated payroll information required." The email carries the company logo. It uses the correct company colors. The sender's name appears to be someone from Human Resources. The message is polite, professional, convincing. It asks the employee to verify payroll information before the end of the day. Without thinking too much, the employee clicks the link. The website looks identical to the company's login page. The employee enters their username, password, verification code. Nothing unusual happens. The page simply refreshes. The employee assumes there was a technical problem and closes the browser. 5 minutes later, a hacker sitting thousands of miles away logs into the company's internal systems using those stolen credentials. The company's expensive cybersecurity defenses weren't defeated by advanced hacking. They were bypassed by trust. And that is one of the most important lessons in cybersecurity. Hackers don't always attack computers. Very often, they attack people. Technology keeps improving. Operating systems receive security updates. Browsers become safer. Encryption grows stronger. Artificial intelligence detects suspicious behavior. But despite all these advances, human psychology has remained remarkably consistent. People still become curious. People still panic. People still trust authority. People still act quickly when they feel pressured. Cybercriminals understand this better than anyone. They know that convincing one person to make a mistake is often much easier than spending weeks trying to break through sophisticated security systems. That's why social engineering has become one of the most powerful weapons in cybercrime. The book emphasizes a simple but powerful truth. The most vulnerable part of our increasingly connected world is not the technology, it is the people who use it. Social engineering sounds complicated. In reality, it's surprisingly simple. Instead of hacking computers, hackers manipulate human behavior. Think of a magician performing on stage. The trick doesn't work because of magic. It works because the magician controls your attention. Social engineers do exactly the same thing. They control your emotions, your attention, your expectations. Then they guide you toward making the decision they want. Most victims don't realize they've been manipulated until it's too late. If you've ever wondered why intelligent people fall victim to scams, here's the answer. Cybercriminals rarely rely on intelligence. They rely on emotion. They deliberately trigger emotional reactions that override logical thinking. Let's look at the most common ones. Fear. Imagine receiving an email saying, "Your bank account has been suspended due to suspicious activity." Immediately, your brain focuses on one thing: saving your money. Instead of checking whether the email is genuine, you click. Fear makes people act quickly. Hackers know this. Urgency. Now imagine another message. Your Microsoft account will be permanently deleted in 30 minutes unless you verify your password. Notice what happened. The attacker removed your ability to think calmly. Urgency forces quick decisions. The less time people have to think, the more likely they are to make mistakes. Curiosity. Suppose you receive a message saying, "Confidential salary list 2026.pdf." Or, "Management promotion decisions." Many people would immediately want to know what's inside. Curiosity becomes the attack. One click. That's all the hacker needs. Authority. Humans naturally trust authority figures. If an email appears to come from your CEO, your manager, the IT department, or a government agency, you're much more likely to follow instructions without questioning them. Hackers exploit this instinct every day. Greed. Some attacks promise rewards. You've won a new iPhone. Claim your free vacation. Receive your tax refund. People become excited. Excitement lowers skepticism. Again, one click is enough. Phishing, the world's favorite cybercrime. Among all cyber attacks, one technique remains the king: phishing. Why? Because it's inexpensive, scalable, simple, and incredibly effective. A criminal can send 1 million phishing emails automatically. If only 1% of recipients fall for the scam, that's still 10,000 victims. Imagine owning a fishing boat. You don't expect every fish to bite. You simply cast a very large net. Phishing works the same way. Most emails fail. But hackers don't need everyone. They only need enough people to respond. The book shares a fascinating real-world example. Former employees of a call center discovered they could still access customer information because of a security oversight. Instead of hacking sophisticated systems, they simply used information that was already available. With customer details in hand, they called victims while pretending to represent the telecommunications company. Because they already knew personal information about each customer, the conversations sounded completely legitimate. Victims trusted them. Many willingly revealed additional financial information. Some transferred money themselves. The attackers barely needed technical skills. They needed confidence, good communication, and convincing acting. The criminals eventually stole more than £100,000 using nothing more than information and persuasion. Many people believe, "I work in IT. I know about scams. It could never happen to me. Ironically, this confidence sometimes makes people even more vulnerable. Hackers don't create generic attacks anymore. They research their targets. They visit LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, company websites, public interviews, news articles. Then they craft messages specifically for one individual. Imagine receiving an email mentioning your recent conference, your manager's name, your current project, your favorite supplier. Everything feels authentic. That's called spear phishing. Instead of attacking thousands of random people, the hacker carefully studies one target. The attack becomes far more convincing. Let's imagine a large manufacturing company. One employee opens a malicious attachment. Within seconds, the malware begins spreading. It reaches shared folders, production servers, financial systems, email servers. Soon, thousands of computers become infected. Factories stop producing. Customers can't place orders. Suppliers can't communicate. Executives can't access reports. Share prices fall. News organizations begin reporting the incident. All because of one click. Cybersecurity professionals often compare this to leaving the front door unlocked. It doesn't matter how strong the walls are. If someone opens the door, the attackers walk inside. After hearing these stories, you might expect the solution to involve expensive software. Surprisingly, it doesn't. The most effective cybersecurity tool remains education. Organizations that regularly train employees experience dramatically fewer successful phishing attacks. People learn to verify unexpected requests, check email addresses carefully, avoid clicking suspicious links, confirm financial requests through another communication channel, report suspicious messages immediately. Technology is essential, but informed people remain the strongest defense. Before moving on, remember these lessons. Hackers usually attack human psychology before attacking computers. Fear, urgency, curiosity, authority, and greed are powerful weapons. Phishing remains one of the most successful cyber attack methods in history. A single employee can unintentionally compromise an entire organization. Continuous cybersecurity awareness is often more valuable than expensive security tools alone. Imagine standing in the middle of a massive iceberg floating in the ocean. Above the water, you can clearly see the tip. It looks enormous. But then someone tells you something astonishing. What you're seeing represents only a tiny fraction of the entire iceberg. Nearly 90% of it lies hidden beneath the surface. The internet works in almost exactly the same way. Every day, you visit websites like Google, YouTube, Amazon, Wikipedia, or your favorite news platform. These websites are easy to find. Search engines index them. Anyone can visit them. This visible portion of the internet is called the surface web. But beneath it lies a much larger digital world that most people never see. This hidden world consists of private databases, company networks, government systems, academic research archives, medical records, and countless other pages that search engines cannot access. This area is known as the deep web. And hidden even deeper exists a much smaller, but far more mysterious, network. A place intentionally designed to hide identities. A place where websites cannot be reached using ordinary browsers. A place where both heroes and criminals operate anonymously. This is the dark web. For many people, those two words immediately bring terrifying images to mind. Illegal marketplaces, drug trafficking, stolen identities, weapons, hackers, cryptocurrency. While some of those associations are true, the real story is far more complicated. And surprisingly, the dark web wasn't originally created for criminals at all. Let's travel back to the 1990s. The internet was expanding rapidly. Governments recognized something important. Every time someone visited a website, their computer revealed information. Every internet-connected device has an address known as an IP address. Think of it like your home's mailing address. Whenever you access a website, that website knows where your request came from. Usually, that's perfectly normal. But imagine you're an intelligence officer working overseas. Suppose you're investigating an international terrorist organization. If you visit one of their websites using a government computer, the website could identify the connection, your identity, your location, potentially even your organization. That could place lives at risk. The United States Naval Research Laboratory needed a solution. Their goal wasn't to create a criminal network. It was to create privacy. A way for intelligence officers to browse the internet without exposing themselves. The answer became a revolutionary technology called onion routing. Imagine placing a letter inside an envelope, then putting that envelope inside another envelope, then another, and another. Each envelope contains instructions for only one step of the journey. The first courier removes one layer. They discover where to send it next. Nothing more. The second courier removes another layer. Again. Only enough information to continue. No single courier knows both the sender and the final destination. This is essentially how onion routing works. Instead of sending internet traffic directly from your computer to a website, your information travels through multiple volunteer-operated computers around the world. Each computer only knows the previous stop and the next stop. No single point knows the complete journey. As a result, tracking the original user becomes extremely difficult. This technology eventually became known as Tor, short for the onion router. Here's something many people misunderstand. Using Tor is not illegal in most countries. In fact, millions of people use it every year for completely legitimate reasons. Consider journalists investigating corruption, whistleblowers exposing illegal government activity, human rights activists living under authoritarian regimes, political dissidents, investigative reporters, domestic abuse survivors seeking confidential information. For these individuals, privacy isn't a luxury. It's protection. Without anonymous communication, some could lose their freedom. Others could lose their lives. This is why many cybersecurity experts continue supporting privacy technologies. Privacy itself is not criminal. It's a fundamental right. The challenge begins when criminals use the very same technology. As Tor became more popular, developers introduced something called hidden services. These are websites that only exist inside the Tor network. Unlike ordinary websites, you cannot simply type them into Google. Search engines cannot easily index them. Normal browsers cannot access them. Only Tor users can visit them. Originally, hidden services were intended to protect anonymous communication. But as often happens with technology, someone discovered another use. Criminal marketplaces. The same privacy-protecting journalists could also protect drug dealers. The same anonymity helping political activists could also hide cybercriminals. Technology itself remained neutral. People determined how it would be used. Then came one of the most famous websites in internet history. Silk Road. Imagine Amazon. Now remove every law. Instead of books, people sold illegal drugs. Instead of electronic gadgets, there were counterfeit documents. Instead of customer reviews for kitchen appliances, there were ratings for narcotics. Buyers remained anonymous. Sellers remained anonymous. Payments were made using Bitcoin. No physical store existed. No cash registers. No visible employees. Everything happened online. For law enforcement agencies around the world, Silk Road represented something entirely new. A global marketplace operating almost completely outside traditional policing. Eventually, after years of investigation, authorities arrested the site's founder, Ross Ulbricht, and shut the marketplace down. Many believed that would be the end. They were wrong. History teaches us something about organized crime. Removing one criminal organization rarely removes the demand. Almost immediately, new marketplaces appeared. Some improved upon Silk Road's design. Others specialized in different products. Competition increased. Security improved. Anonymity became stronger. Instead of ending the underground economy, the shutdown inspired it to evolve. Cybercriminals learned valuable lessons. Never rely on one marketplace. Distribute operations. Improve encryption. Strengthen anonymity. The underground adapted. Exactly as legitimate businesses adapt after market disruption. One of the fastest growing businesses on the dark web wasn't drugs. It was information. Imagine someone hacks a major retailer. Millions of customer records are stolen. Names, email addresses, passwords, credit card numbers, phone numbers, medical records. Those records suddenly become products. Different buyers want different information. Financial criminals buy credit cards. Identity thieves purchase passports. Scammers buy email databases. Corporate spies seek confidential business documents. Everything has a price. Even your personal information. In many underground forums, a stolen identity can be worth more than a physical wallet. Because unlike cash, digital identities can be copied endlessly. One stolen password may unlock multiple online accounts. One email address may lead to dozens of other services. Information became the currency of cybercrime. Here's an interesting question. If you were a hacker, would you rather steal $1,000? Or steal information capable of generating $100,000 over several years? Most professional cybercriminals choose the second option. Because information creates opportunities. A stolen password might lead to bank accounts, business systems, cloud storage, personal photographs, private conversations, medical records, intellectual property. The value isn't always immediate. Sometimes criminals store stolen information for months before using it. Sometimes they sell it repeatedly to multiple buyers. Unlike physical goods, digital information never truly disappears once it's copied. The story of the dark web teaches an important lesson. Technology itself has no morality. Encryption is neither good nor evil. Anonymity is neither good nor evil. They are simply tools. A journalist protecting a confidential source uses the same encryption as a criminal hiding illegal transactions. A political activist escaping censorship uses the same anonymous network as a cybercriminal selling stolen passwords. The technology is identical. Only the purpose changes. This is one of the greatest challenges facing modern society. How do we protect privacy without creating safe havens for criminals? There is no simple answer. And governments around the world continue debating that question today. Let's pause and summarize what we've learned. The dark web is only a small portion of the larger deep web. It was originally developed to protect anonymous communication, not to enable crime. Tor uses onion routing to hide users' identities by routing traffic through multiple encrypted layers. Criminal marketplaces flourished because anonymity in cryptocurrency reduced the risks associated with illegal transactions. Stolen personal information has become one of the most valuable commodities in the cybercrime economy. Imagine waking up one morning and discovering that one of the world's largest companies has completely disappeared from the internet. Its website won't load. Customers can't place orders. Employees can't access company systems. Millions of people are trying to visit the website. But every request fails. No explosions. No broken windows. No armed robbers. Just silence. Somewhere, thousands of computers are quietly sending millions of requests every second. The company's servers become overwhelmed. Eventually, they simply stop responding. This is one of the most famous weapons in cybercrime. A distributed denial-of-service attack, better known as a DDoS attack. And one of the groups that made this attack famous was a mysterious online movement known simply as Anonymous. Unlike traditional criminal organizations, Anonymous wasn't built around money. There was no CEO, no headquarters, no official membership list, no application process. In fact, anyone could claim to be part of Anonymous. That made the group incredibly difficult to understand and nearly impossible to stop. The story begins in the early 2000s. At that time, internet forums were becoming increasingly popular. People gathered online to discuss technology, gaming, politics, and almost every subject imaginable. Many users posted anonymously. Instead of using real names, they simply appeared as Anonymous. Over time, this simple word evolved into something much bigger. People with similar beliefs started working together. Sometimes to expose corruption. Sometimes to defend internet freedom. Sometimes simply because they believed powerful organizations deserved public criticism. Unlike traditional activists who organized protests in city streets, Anonymous organized protests online. Their keyboard became their megaphone. Their internet connection became their battlefield. And their influence grew rapidly. If you've ever seen images of Anonymous, you've probably noticed the famous white smiling mask with the thin mustache. The Guy Fawkes mask became one of the most recognizable symbols of digital activism in history. The mask represented something larger than one individual. It suggested that anyone could stand against powerful institutions. Anyone could become anonymous, whether someone agreed with their actions or not. The symbolism was powerful. One person could disappear, but an idea could continue forever. One of Anonymous' first major global campaigns targeted the Church of Scientology. The conflict began after attempts were made to remove certain online videos from the internet. Many internet users believed this threatened freedom of expression. Anonymous responded, not with protests outside buildings, but with digital attacks. Websites became unavailable. Phone lines were overwhelmed. Thousands of supporters organized demonstrations in cities around the world. For the first time, millions of people realized something remarkable. The internet had created a completely new form of activism. A movement didn't need political offices, or television stations, or newspapers. It simply needed people willing to coordinate online. Whether people supported Anonymous or criticized them, the group demonstrated something that governments and businesses couldn't ignore. A relatively small number of technically skilled individuals could create enormous disruption. Companies that had invested millions in physical security suddenly realized their biggest vulnerability wasn't the front door. It was the internet connection. Governments also recognized a new reality. Future protests might not happen in public squares. They might happen online. Digital activism had arrived. As Anonymous became internationally famous, another group emerged. LOL's SEC. The name came from internet slang. LOLs referred to amusement or entertainment. Many of their attacks appeared to be motivated by one simple goal: causing chaos, embarrassing large organizations, demonstrating weaknesses in cybersecurity. They targeted media companies, government organizations, gaming networks, and large corporations. Sometimes they published confidential information. Other times, they simply wanted to prove they could break into systems that everyone believed were secure. One of their most famous attacks involved compromising Fox television systems and exposing information about thousands of contestants from television programs. The message was clear. No organization was too large. No brand was untouchable. Here's where the story takes an unexpected turn. Professional cybercriminals closely observed everything Anonymous and LOL's SEC accomplished. They weren't interested in politics. They weren't interested in making headlines. They were interested in something else: money. They realized these same techniques could become incredibly profitable. Instead of attacking a company to make a political statement, why not demand payment to stop? Instead of exposing stolen data for publicity, why not threaten to release it unless the victim pays millions of dollars? The technology remained identical. Only the motivation changed. Hacktivism unintentionally became a source of inspiration for organized cybercrime. Most people imagine hackers breaking into computer systems. But DDoS attacks work differently. Imagine walking into your favorite coffee shop. Normally, there are 20 customers. Everyone gets served. Now imagine 50,000 people suddenly walk through the door at exactly the same moment. Nobody orders anything. Nobody buys coffee. They simply occupy every available space. The employees become overwhelmed. Real customers cannot enter. The business effectively shuts down. Nothing was stolen. Nothing was destroyed. But normal operations became impossible. A DDoS attack works almost exactly the same way. Instead of overwhelming employees, hackers overwhelm computer servers. Millions of fake requests flood the website simultaneously. The server becomes so busy responding to meaningless traffic that legitimate visitors cannot access the service. Eventually, the website crashes. Years ago, launching a DDoS attack required considerable technical knowledge. Then a software tool called Low Orbit Ion Cannon, often shortened to LOIC, became widely available. The program simplified the process dramatically. Instead of writing complex code, users simply entered a website address and clicked a button. Thousands of volunteers could coordinate attacks against the same target. The collective power became enormous. This software demonstrated another important lesson. As cyber tools become easier to use, the number of potential attackers grows dramatically. Technology doesn't only make life easier for legitimate users, it also lowers the barrier for criminals. Eventually, cybercriminals realized something remarkable. Not everyone wanted to learn hacking. Some people simply wanted someone else to perform the attack. So a new business appeared. DDoS for hire. Need to attack a competitor? Pay a fee. Want revenge against someone? Pay another fee. Need to pressure a business into paying extortion money? Again, pay a fee. The criminal group handled everything else. Cybercrime was becoming increasingly specialized. Exactly like legitimate industries. One organization wrote malware. Another sold stolen passwords. Another laundered cryptocurrency. Another offered denial of service attacks. Every criminal focused on what they did best. Around this same time, technology entered people's homes in completely new ways. Televisions connected to the internet. Security cameras connected to Wi-Fi. Smart thermostats appeared. Baby monitors. Doorbells. Smart refrigerators. Voice assistants. Today we call this ecosystem the Internet of Things, or IoT. These devices made life more convenient. But many manufacturers focused primarily on features. Security often became an afterthought. Default passwords remained unchanged. Software updates were ignored. Weak security settings became common. Hackers immediately recognized an opportunity. Instead of infecting personal computers, they could infect millions of smart devices. Imagine controlling hundreds of thousands of internet-connected cameras around the world. Each one sends just a small amount of traffic. Individually, they're harmless. Together, they can overwhelm even some of the largest online services. This transformed DDoS attacks forever. Security researcher Robert Qualo famously discovered attacks coming not only from computers, but from infected webcams, security cameras, smart televisions, and countless other connected devices. These hijacked devices became part of enormous botnets capable of generating unprecedented levels of internet traffic. One surprising example involved the online game Minecraft. Millions of players built elaborate virtual worlds. Many paid hosting companies to keep those worlds online 24 hours a day. For hosting providers, this became an extremely profitable business. Unfortunately, hackers noticed. Some rival companies secretly paid criminals to attack competitors. Other criminals launched attacks themselves, then demanded payment to stop. Entire businesses found themselves trapped. Pay the ransom, or remain offline. Even a video game became a target for organized cybercrime. It proved a simple truth. If money exists, cybercriminals will eventually follow. Anonymous and similar groups changed cybersecurity forever, not because they invented hacking, but because they demonstrated how powerful coordinated online action could become. This chapter teaches us several important lessons. Cyberattacks don't always involve stealing data. Sometimes simply making a service unavailable can cause millions of dollars in losses. Political activists and criminals often use similar technical methods, even if their motivations are completely different. Criminal organizations constantly adapt successful techniques developed by others. The growing number of internet-connected devices has dramatically expanded the attack surface available to hackers. As technology becomes more connected, cybersecurity becomes everyone's responsibility, not just that of IT professionals. Cyber warfare, when nations turned code into a weapon. Imagine waking up one morning and discovering that your city has no electricity. Traffic lights stop working. Hospitals switch to emergency generators. ATMs shut down. Gas stations cannot process payments. Airports delay flights. Mobile phone towers begin failing. Within a few hours, daily life starts falling apart. No bombs have fallen from the sky. No soldiers have crossed the border. No missiles have been launched. Instead, a few thousand lines of computer code have quietly crippled an entire nation's infrastructure. For centuries, wars were fought with swords, cannons, tanks, fighter jets, and missiles. Today, there is another battlefield. One where soldiers may never see their enemy. One where attacks happen in milliseconds. One where a single computer virus can achieve what once required an army. Welcome to the age of cyber warfare. Throughout history, military power depended on physical strength. Countries built larger armies, more powerful weapons, stronger fortifications. But during the 21st century, governments began realizing something profound. Modern societies rely almost entirely on computers. Power plants, airports, water treatment facilities, banks, hospitals, military communication systems, satellites, transportation networks. Everything depends on software. If software controls the infrastructure, then software can also become a weapon. This realization completely transformed military strategy. Instead of asking, "How do we destroy the enemy's infrastructure?" military planners began asking, "Can we disable it without firing a single shot?" The answer was yes. And the world would soon witness the first true cyber weapon. Stuxnet, the virus that changed history. In cybersecurity circles, one name stands above all others. Stuxnet. Many experts consider it the most sophisticated cyber weapon ever discovered. Unlike ordinary malware designed to steal passwords or encrypt files, Stuxnet had an entirely different mission. Destroy physical equipment. Not through explosions. Not through sabotage. But through software. To understand why this was so revolutionary, let's first understand the target. Iran's nuclear program. For years, the international community closely monitored Iran's nuclear facilities. One of the most important locations was Natanz. Inside this facility were thousands of centrifuges. These machines spin at incredibly high speeds to enrich uranium. Imagine a washing machine spinning thousands of times faster than normal. Even tiny changes in speed can damage the machinery. The centrifuges had to operate with extraordinary precision. If they spun too slowly, the process failed. If they spun too quickly, the the machines could destroy themselves. Normally, highly specialized industrial computers carefully controlled every movement. Those computers became the target. The perfect attack. Here's what made Stuxnet so extraordinary. The malware didn't immediately announce its presence. It behaved patiently, quietly, almost invisibly. After entering the network, it searched for one very specific type of industrial control system. If it didn't find the correct target, it simply remained inactive. Imagine a burglar entering hundreds of houses, but stealing from only one particular room in one particular building. That's how selective Stuxnet was. When it finally reached the intended systems, it began making tiny adjustments. The centrifuges sped up, then slowed down, then sped up again. Operators monitoring the facility saw normal readings on their computer screens. Everything appeared perfectly healthy. But behind the scenes, the machines were literally destroying themselves. Engineers couldn't understand what was happening. Mechanical failures kept occurring. Equipment was replaced. Yet the problems continued. The computers were lying. And that was perhaps the most frightening part. The attack didn't merely damage equipment. It manipulated reality. Operators trusted their monitoring systems. Those systems had been compromised. The attack reportedly destroyed hundreds of centrifuges while delaying Iran's nuclear program by months, perhaps even years. Many cybersecurity experts believe Stuxnet marked the beginning of modern cyber warfare, demonstrating that malicious software could produce real-world physical destruction. Why Stuxnet shocked the world? When cybersecurity researchers finally analyzed Stuxnet, they realized something unprecedented. This wasn't the work of ordinary criminals. The malware was too sophisticated, too carefully engineered, too expensive. Developing software like Stuxnet would require teams of elite programmers, intelligence gathering, knowledge of industrial engineering, significant financial resources, months or years of planning. Many experts concluded that only a nation-state could realistically build such a weapon. Although no government officially admitted responsibility, the operation has widely been linked by security researchers and journalists to cooperation between the United States and Israel. Whether or not those conclusions are correct, one thing became undeniable. Cyber weapons had entered military history. Digital weapons versus traditional weapons. Let's compare. A missile destroys one target. A cyber weapon can quietly spread through thousands of systems. A bomb creates immediate destruction. Malware can remain hidden for months before activating. Traditional warfare often produces visible evidence. Cyber warfare may leave almost none. And perhaps most importantly, attribution becomes incredibly difficult. Imagine someone attacks your country's power grid. Who did it? A criminal group? Another nation? A patriotic hacker acting independently? A false flag operation designed to blame someone else? Unlike conventional warfare, the attacker often remains hidden. That uncertainty creates enormous political challenges. Ukraine, the first nationwide cyber blackout. A few years after Stuxnet, another event captured global attention. This time, the target wasn't a nuclear facility. It was an entire country's electrical grid. In December 2015, large portions of Ukraine suddenly lost power. Hundreds of thousands of people found themselves without electricity. Investigators later concluded that attackers had compromised computers controlling electrical substations. Instead of technicians operating switches, hackers remotely disconnected power. Imagine sitting in another country, opening software, clicking a few buttons, and watching the lights go out across cities hundreds of miles away. It sounded like science fiction, yet it had become reality. Ukraine later presented evidence suggesting Russian involvement, though cyber attribution remains one of the most difficult challenges in international security. Regardless of who carried out the operation, the message was unmistakable. Critical infrastructure had become a military target. Why infrastructure matters? Modern countries depend on interconnected systems. Electricity powers hospitals. Hospitals save lives. Fuel pipelines transport energy. Energy powers factories. Factories produce food. Communication networks coordinate emergency services. Everything connects. Attack one system, and many others begin failing. This is why governments now classify infrastructure as critical national assets. Protecting these systems has become just as important as protecting military bases. Because without electricity, without communications, without transportation, even the strongest nation becomes vulnerable. The silent arms race. Today, nearly every major country invests heavily in cybersecurity. Some focus on defending their own networks. Others develop offensive capabilities. Much of this work remains classified. Unlike traditional military parades, cyber weapons are invisible. Governments rarely reveal what they can do, because secrecy itself becomes part of the strategy. If your opponent doesn't know your capabilities, they must assume the worst. This creates an ongoing digital arms race. Each nation develops stronger defenses. Other nations develop more advanced attacks. Artificial intelligence accelerates both sides. Quantum computing may transform the battlefield again. The competition never truly ends. Could cyber warfare affect ordinary people? Many viewers may wonder. I'm not a government employee. Why should this matter to me? The answer is simple. Because modern cyber warfare doesn't always stay inside military networks. Power outages affect families. Hospital disruptions affect patients. Fuel shortages affect drivers. Banking disruptions affect businesses. Supply chain attacks affect consumers. The line between military targets and civilian life has become increasingly blurred. In today's connected world, national cybersecurity eventually becomes personal cybersecurity. When stolen data became more powerful than stolen money. Imagine for a moment that you're the CEO of a successful international company. Your business is thriving. Millions of customers trust your brand. Your employees work on confidential projects. Your executives exchange sensitive emails every day. Everything seems normal. Until one morning, you arrive at the office to discover that your cybersecurity team has been working through the night. Every employee's email account has been compromised. Private executive conversations are spreading across social media. Confidential business plans have been leaked. Journalists are calling every 5 minutes. Television news channels are broadcasting screenshots of internal emails. Your company's stock price begins falling. Customers start questioning whether they can trust you. Partners hesitate to continue doing business. The financial loss is enormous. But the damage to your reputation may never fully recover. Welcome to one of the most powerful weapons in modern cybercrime. Weaponized data. A new kind of attack. For many years, cybercriminals had one simple objective: steal money. Credit card numbers, bank account credentials, online payment information. If they could make money, the attack was considered successful. But eventually, hackers realized something. Sometimes information itself is more valuable than money. Think about it. A company can recover stolen money through insurance. A bank can reverse fraudulent transactions. A business can replace stolen equipment. But what happens when confidential information becomes public? You cannot unpublish a leaked email. You cannot erase millions of downloaded documents. You cannot force people to forget embarrassing information once it is spread across the internet. Unlike money, information has no reset button. Once it escapes, it can exist forever. This realization completely changed cybercrime. Hackers no longer needed to steal your bank account. Sometimes, they only needed your secrets. The psychology of public exposure. Why is leaked information so powerful? Because humans fear embarrassment almost as much as financial loss. Imagine receiving this message from a hacker. "We have copied every confidential document in your company." You might still hesitate. But then imagine the next sentence. "If you don't pay within 72 hours, we will publish everything online." Now the attack becomes personal. Customers will see it. Competitors will see it. Employees will see it. Investors will see it. The media will see it. Your reputation becomes the hostage. Cybercriminals discovered that fear of public exposure often motivates victims even more than encrypted files. This strategy became known as double extortion. First, encrypt the victim's systems. Then, threaten to publish the stolen information. The victim now faces two disasters instead of one. Ashley Madison, the leak that shocked the world. One of the most famous examples involved a website called Ashley Madison. The site's purpose was controversial. It marketed itself to people seeking extramarital relationships. Millions of users trusted the platform with some of their most private information. Names, email addresses, home addresses, personal preferences, payment information. Many believed their identities would remain confidential. Then, everything changed. A hacker group calling itself the Impact Team broke into Ashley Madison's systems. Instead of immediately selling the information, they made a demand. Shut down the service, or the data would become public. When the company refused, the hackers carried out their threat. Millions of customer records were released online. News organizations around the world covered the story. Families were affected. Careers ended. Relationships collapsed. Entire lives changed. The attack demonstrated something terrifying. Hackers no longer needed to steal your money. Sometimes, destroying your reputation could be even more devastating. The book explains that the attackers carefully controlled the release of information, publishing data in stages to maximize media attention and public pressure. By turning the leak into an ongoing story rather than a single event, they amplified its impact far beyond the initial breach. The power of the media. The Ashley Madison incident revealed another important lesson. Modern cybercriminals don't just attack computers. They understand media. Think about traditional bank robbers. Once they escaped, the crime was over. Cybercriminals operate differently. They often create stories. First, leak a small amount of information. Journalists report it. Then, release another batch. The headlines continue. Then, publish confidential emails. Public interest grows again. Every new release extends the news cycle. The company remains under pressure for weeks. The hackers manipulate attention itself. In many cases, the media unknowingly becomes part of the attack. Sony Pictures, when movies started an international incident. Another extraordinary example occurred in 2014. One of Hollywood's largest film studios, Sony Pictures Entertainment, suffered one of the most devastating cyberattacks in corporate history. At first, employees simply noticed technical problems. Computers stopped functioning. Files disappeared. Then something much worse happened. Confidential emails began appearing online. Executive conversations. Employee salaries. Unreleased films. Business negotiations. Personal information. Medical records. Everything started leaking. The company faced enormous financial losses. But again, the reputational damage became equally severe. The timing wasn't random. Sony was preparing to release a comedy film called The Interview, which portrayed North Korean leader Kim Jong-un in a satirical way. Soon afterward, a group calling itself the Guardians of Peace claimed responsibility for the attack. The United States government later publicly linked the operation to North Korea, though such attribution in cyberspace is always based on intelligence assessments rather than absolute certainty. Regardless of who carried out the operation, the message was unmistakable. cyberattacks had become geopolitical tools. Movies, politics, international relations, cybersecurity. Everything had become connected. Why reputation is worth billions. Imagine you own a global technology company. Your customers trust you with their personal information. If hackers reveal that you failed to protect that data, what happens next? Customers leave. Investors lose confidence. Regulators begin investigations. Lawsuits follow. Recruiting talented employees becomes harder. The financial cost may continue for years. Cybercriminals understand this perfectly. That's why modern attacks often target trust itself. Because trust is one of the most valuable assets any organization possesses. And once trust disappears, rebuilding it can take decades. Information never dies. One of the most frightening aspects of digital information is its permanence. Suppose a confidential document is copied. Deleting the original changes nothing. Thousands of copies may already exist. Cloud storage, backup servers, personal computers, private archives, encrypted drives. The internet has an extraordinary memory. Information can reappear years after everyone believed it had disappeared. For individuals, this creates enormous privacy challenges. For businesses, it creates long-term cybersecurity risks. For governments, it creates national security concerns. In today's digital world, protecting information has become just as important as creating it. The rise of data extortion. As criminals observe these successful attacks, they evolved once again. Instead of simply demanding payment after encrypting files, many ransomware groups adopted a new strategy. Before encrypting anything, they quietly copied the victim's confidential information. Then they launched the ransomware attack. If the victim restored systems using backups, the criminals simply threatened to publish the stolen data instead. Victims discovered there was no easy escape. Even excellent backups couldn't protect confidential information that had already been copied. Cybercrime had become smarter, more strategic, more psychological. Lessons for every business. The attacks against Ashley Madison and Sony Pictures teach us that cybersecurity is no longer just an IT problem. It's a business problem, a legal problem, a financial problem, a public relations problem. Every organization, regardless of size, should ask itself, what information would be most damaging if leaked? Who has access to that information? How is it protected? How quickly could we detect unauthorized access? Do we have a response plan if the worst happens? Technology alone cannot answer these questions. They require leadership, planning, training, and a culture that treats cybersecurity as everyone's responsibility. The future of cybercrime, artificial intelligence, deep fakes, and the next digital battlefield. Imagine receiving a phone call from your company's CEO. You recognize the voice immediately. The tone, the accent, even the small pauses while speaking. The CEO sounds worried. He says there's an urgent acquisition taking place. A confidential payment must be transferred within the next 30 minutes. Only you can authorize it. Everything sounds genuine. So, you approve the transaction. Several hours later, the real CEO walks into the office. He has no idea what you're talking about. The phone call never happened. The voice you trusted was generated entirely by artificial intelligence. This isn't science fiction. It's happening today. Cybercrime is entering a completely new era. One where hackers no longer need to write better malware. Instead, they can build better deception. Artificial intelligence has become one of the most powerful technologies ever created. It helps doctors diagnose diseases. Engineers design safer buildings. Students learn faster. Businesses become more productive. But like every powerful technology throughout history, it also has a darker side. The same AI helping society can also become an extraordinary tool for cybercriminals. And according to cybersecurity experts, we're only seeing the beginning. Every technological revolution creates new crime. History follows a predictable pattern. When automobiles became popular, car theft appeared. When credit cards were introduced, financial fraud exploded. When email became common, phishing attacks emerged. Now, artificial intelligence is transforming nearly every industry. Cybercrime is evolving with it. Criminals don't invent technology. They adapt it. And they adapt remarkably quickly. The book emphasizes that cybercrime continuously evolves alongside legitimate technological progress. Every major innovation creates new opportunities, not only for businesses and governments, but also for criminals seeking fresh methods of attack. Deepfakes, when seeing is no longer believing. For generations, people trusted photographs, then videos, then recorded voices. If you saw someone speaking, you believed they had actually said those words. Artificial intelligence has changed that assumption forever. Today's AI systems can generate realistic voices after hearing only a short recording. They can create convincing videos of people saying things they never actually said. They can reproduce facial expressions, eye movements, body language, even emotional tone. These creations are known as deepfakes. At first, many deepfakes were easy to recognize. Movements looked unnatural. Voices sounded robotic. Faces appeared slightly distorted. But every year, the technology improves dramatically. Soon, the difference between real and fake may become almost impossible to detect without specialized forensic analysis. Imagine the possibilities. A fake CEO ordering a financial transfer. A fabricated politician announcing military action. A counterfeit news broadcast triggering public panic. A false video destroying someone's reputation. The threat is no longer limited to stolen passwords. Reality itself can now be manipulated. AI makes phishing smarter. Traditional phishing emails often contained obvious mistakes. Poor grammar, awkward wording, incorrect spelling. Those mistakes helped many people recognize scams. Artificial intelligence changes everything. Modern language models can generate professional emails in dozens of languages. Perfect grammar, natural conversation, personalized messages. Imagine receiving an email that references your recent LinkedIn post, your employer, your current project, your manager's name, your favorite supplier. Everything appears authentic because AI can analyze publicly available information within seconds. Instead of sending one generic email to 1 million people, hackers can now generate 1 million unique emails, each tailored specifically to its recipient. Cybersecurity experts call this the industrialization of social engineering. The attacks become cheaper, faster, and significantly more convincing. Malware that learns. Traditional malware followed fixed instructions. If antivirus software detected it, the attack often failed. Artificial intelligence introduces a different possibility. Imagine malicious software capable of adapting automatically. If one technique fails, it tries another. If one security product blocks it, it searches for an alternative route. If defenders patch one vulnerability, the malware identifies another weakness. Although fully autonomous AI-powered malware remains an emerging concern rather than a widespread reality, cybersecurity researchers are actively studying how machine learning could increase the speed and sophistication of future attacks. The cybersecurity arms race. Fortunately, artificial intelligence isn't helping only criminals. It's also transforming cybersecurity. Modern security systems already analyze billions of events every day. Artificial intelligence helps detect unusual behavior within seconds. Instead of waiting for human analysts, AI identifies suspicious login attempts, unusual file transfers, unexpected software activity, network anomalies, potential insider threats. Think of it as an intelligent security guard. Instead of watching one camera, it watches millions simultaneously. It never gets tired, never loses concentration, never needs sleep. The future of cybersecurity will likely become a contest between defensive AI and offensive AI. Both sides will improve continuously. Both sides will learn from one another. Quantum computing, the next great challenge. Another technological revolution is quietly approaching. Quantum computing. Traditional computers process information using bits. Each bit is either a 0 or a 1. Quantum computers work differently. Without diving too deeply into the mathematics, they can solve certain categories of problems dramatically faster than today's computers. This creates exciting opportunities. Drug discovery, scientific research, climate modeling, material science. But it also introduces serious cybersecurity questions. Much of today's internet security depends upon encryption. Encryption protects online banking, medical records, government communications, cloud storage, digital signatures. If future quantum computers become powerful enough, some of today's encryption methods may eventually become vulnerable. Fortunately, researchers have anticipated this challenge. Around the world, scientists are already developing post-quantum cryptography, new encryption algorithms designed to remain secure even against quantum computers. The race has already begun. The Internet of Everything. Earlier, we discussed the Internet of Things. Smart homes, connected cameras, wearable devices. But the future extends much further. Self-driving cars, smart factories, connected hospitals, autonomous delivery drones, AI-powered robots, smart cities. Each connected device creates convenience. Each connected device also creates another potential entry point. Imagine if attackers gain control over traffic management systems, medical devices, industrial robots, water treatment facilities, autonomous transportation. The consequences could extend far beyond stolen data. Cybersecurity will increasingly become a matter of public safety. Zero trust, trust no one. One of the biggest shifts in cybersecurity philosophy is known as zero trust. The idea sounds extreme. Trust nobody. But it doesn't mean treating employees like criminals. Instead, it means verifying every request, every login, every device, every connection. Imagine living in a secure apartment building. Even if someone enters the lobby, they still need another key to access each apartment. Every door requires verification. Modern cybersecurity increasingly follows this model. Never assume someone is trustworthy simply because they're already inside the network. Always verify. Always monitor. Always authenticate. The human advantage. After everything we've learned, artificial intelligence, nation-state attacks, deep fakes, quantum computing, you might wonder, can ordinary people still defend themselves? The answer is yes. Technology changes rapidly. Human judgment remains invaluable. Pause before clicking unfamiliar links. Question urgent financial requests. Verify unexpected phone calls. Use strong, unique passwords. Enable multi-factor authentication. Keep software updated. Back up important files regularly. Cybersecurity isn't about becoming impossible to hack. It's about making yourself a much harder target than the average victim. Remember what we've learned throughout this book. Hackers usually look for the easiest opportunity. Don't become the easiest opportunity. Final lessons from the book. As we reach the end of this incredible journey, let's reflect on the biggest ideas we've discovered. Cybercrime didn't appear overnight. It evolved alongside the internet itself. Curiosity became innovation. Innovation created opportunity. Opportunity attracted criminals. Technology expanded faster than security. And security continues racing to catch up. We've learned that cybercrime has become one of the largest criminal industries in the world. Organized cybercriminal groups often operate like legitimate businesses. Human psychology remains one of the most effective attack vectors. Ransomware transformed digital extortion into a multi-billion-dollar enterprise. The dark web enables both legitimate privacy and criminal anonymity. Nation-states now view cyberspace as a strategic battlefield. Artificial intelligence is reshaping both cyberattacks and cyber defenses. Every internet user has a role to play in improving cybersecurity. The internet is one of humanity's greatest inventions. It connects billions of people. It powers businesses, advances medicine, supports education, creates opportunity. But every powerful invention carries responsibility. Cybersecurity isn't just the responsibility of governments, or technology companies, or IT departments. It's everyone's responsibility. Every password you create, every email you open, every application you install, every online decision you make contributes to the security of our shared digital world. The future of cybersecurity won't be decided by hackers alone. It will also be shaped by informed users who choose awareness over convenience and preparation over complacency. Knowledge has always been humanity's greatest defense. And in the digital age, that has never been more true. If you enjoyed this complete book summary and found it valuable, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to Knowledge Power, and turn on notifications so you never miss our next deep dive into the world's most influential books on technology, business, psychology, and personal development. Tell us in the comments, what cybersecurity lesson surprised you the most? And if you'd like us to summarize another best-selling book, leave its title below. We may feature it in an upcoming episode. Thank you for watching Knowledge Power. Stay curious. Stay informed. And most importantly, stay secure.